If I came to your house right now and I walked in through the door, I busted down the door and I said, whatever you do, do not think about a cat. Don't think about a cat. Just please, whatever you do, don't think about a cat. Just don't do it. A little kitty cat, don't think about it. What would you be able to not think about a cat? No. All you would be able to focus on is the cat, because that's what I'm saying to you. Your mind wouldn't be able to differentiate between not being allowed to and just the actual context of the sentence, which is the cat, the actual thing in your mind. It's like when people say, don't think about a pink elephant. All you can think about is the pink elephant. And the reason is because your mind doesn't know what is wrong and what is right. It simply just responds exactly what you give it, exactly what you're thinking about. And so the same goes with anything. If you're thinking and saying, I don't want to be broke, I don't want to be poor, I don't want to be in a bad relationship, your mind doesn't know, like your higher self, you at your core don't know the difference between I don't want to be and the actual thing that's said in the sentence. This is why affirmations, people say, the advice for affirmations isn't, I am not broke, I am not poor. It is, I am wealthy, I am free, I feel great. And it is focusing on that one thing at the end of the sentence, at the end of the affirmation, because that's actually what your mind focuses on. It doesn't know something that is good or is bad. It doesn't differentiate an imagined situation and a real situation. Everything is real to it. And so wherever you point your mind is exactly how you will feel, and that is exactly how you behave in the moment. Just like trying not to think of a cat, I can guarantee if you walked around all day and you were trying to not think of a cat, eventually you would see one in the street. Your reticular activating system in your brain would eventually point you to looking at cats, wherever a cat would be in the street or at home. And this is the most powerful thing that I've had to realize in my young life is whatever you focus on, whatever I focus on, no matter what the context is simply the result that I will get in life. And the most important thing, especially if you want to get shredded, have energy, you can apply this to all aspects, but for me, a big part was getting really lean and getting shredded. Previously, I would go about my day and I would say, I shouldn't eat chocolate. I shouldn't. No, make sure to not do that thing. And I was just setting myself up for so much suffering and so much failure because I'm simply just giving it attention. This is the thing, is reality loves our attention no matter what it is. Eventually we will interact and create the reality of what we are most focused on. So if you want to get lean, if you want to get shredded, you focus on, I love cooking healthy food that makes me feel amazing. And you simply point your mind as much as you can in your day to that particular topic, to that particular theme. You don't say, I can't have chocolate. You don't say, I have to restrict myself. Because again, your subconscious, the part that you're not conscious of, where your identity lies, it simply doesn't know. It's just restriction? Okay, we are restricting ourselves. That means we are losing something. That means we are suffering. Learning how to point your mind, your conscious mind, in the directions that you want it to go will change your life so significantly. Because eventually, if you point your mind, for me as an example, going back to the food, I learned how to point my mind in a way that helped me have energy, get lean, feel good. I've learned how to point my mind in that area. And so the bad food that I used to binge eat on is now super unappealing. I don't want to eat the bad food because I've simply learned how to point my mind in the right direction. And this is something that most people understand. It's quite easy to grasp. But what most people won't do is they won't stay consistent with it. You see, you won't change overnight. If you've had a binge eating addiction, if you've been poor, if you've had an illness, over time, your identity is formed based on what you already know about yourself, based on where you've pointed your mind in the past. And so what will happen is people will understand, to change my life, I need to point my mind in a different direction. And they'll do it, and they'll feel different for like a few hours. But then eventually the trigger will come back, and they'll start to rationalize in their mind, and I'll start to say, you know what, like I could eat the food that's not good for me. I know I need to restrict myself, and they just go back to the thoughts that eventually gives them the same result, which is not being shredded, not being lean, not having energy, not being in a relationship that you love, not having an amazing amount of money, doing something you love. All of these results that people want in life. And so it is literally like an hour by hour thing. You can't let your mind slip, even for an hour. You can't let yourself default back into a state of being that you actually don't want to be and you don't want to feel like. It is too expensive for you to entertain thoughts of scarcity and lack. I was a snowboard instructor for about 5 years, and I noticed that the one thing that my coaches, when I was learning how to, teach people how to snowboard and do tricks and stuff, I remember I learned this from my coaches whenever we would be riding through trees. So like swerving between trees, especially in Australia, where the trees are very narrow. My coaches would always say, what happens if you focus and look at the tree? So we would do this experiment where we would take a lap and we would snowboard through the trees, and we would consciously focus on avoiding the trees. We would look at the trees. And what happened? A lot of us started running into trees, including me. And then we did a second lap, and my coaches said, all right, focus on the openings between the trees. Don't look at the trunks of the tree. Focus on where you're going. Look 4 to 5 steps ahead when you're riding through these trees. And lo and behold, we all made it out without having any issues. This is the first point where I understood, wow, your mind actually has quite a lot of power. And it's actually just really easy because you just simply point it in the direction you want to go in. And this relates to it because when you're pointing your mind in the place where you want to be, you're not thinking of the future and you're not thinking of the past. You can only point your mind in the present moment. It's not possible to think about something in the future. Like it genuinely isn't possible, because what happens is you're thinking about something in the future and your brain goes, oh yeah, that's in the future, but you're actually just thinking about it in the present moment. So it's not actually in the future, it's in the present moment. And because the results that you will get in life, you can only experience in the present moment, that is all you will get. You won't get anything in the future because it genuinely doesn't exist. And that is a part of the brainwashing that I have had to remove from my psyche. The future doesn't exist, the past doesn't exist. The only time that you will ever experience anything, even if you think it's in the future, will be right now with your hands and your face and your body and what's right in front of you. And so learn to point your mind in one direction, and your life will genuinely change. And use things as a reminder, like use my videos as a reminder to do this. Watch people and read books and do all of these things that remind you that you are constantly creating who you are right now. These are like called anchors. Anchors. Yeah. Anchors meaning they anchor you into the present moment. The more you do this, the more you'll find life just opens up for you. And you won't have any of these self-sabotaging thoughts that come into your brain. And because over time, the more you point your mind in the direction you want it to go and only focus on the things you love, the more the energy of the bad stuff, the bad addictions, habits, and self-sabotaging, the more that just leaves your life. You literally siphon it of its energy and it doesn't belong anymore. And you'll wake up one day and go, wow, I am a completely different person. And it is simply because you learned how to point your mind into the present moment on what you want. And this becomes a lot easier when you're actually like really healthy too. When you're actually healthy and you feel calm and your nervous system is regulated, this becomes a much easier process. But the concept still applies. And I'll be making a lot more videos because I feel like nervous system and health these are like the foundations for this particular topic. That being said, thank you for watching. I appreciate you, and I'll see you very soon.